I was born in Macau. It's a really, really tiny city, and I hated it. I wanted to get out of that city so bad. I came to the U.S. In 1987. I was 13, and the first stop was Texas, Houston. It was where my grandparents lived during that time. Unfortunately, my parents did not really like being in the US, and they make a decision to go back to Macau after 30 days. So I was being left with my grandparents and with my sister. And then after 3 years, my sister decided to go back to Macau. So and then it became just me. I decided to move to California, to somewhere that I think I could fit into. My first drink was actually on my graduation day at high school because I thought, oh my God, I am adult now. I could celebrate, even though I was 19 during that time. I had my first drink, and it was it wasn't just one drink. To be honest with you, it was a whole bottle of champagne. I had it all. I had the whole bottle. And I was throwing up, I was drunk, but I remember the next day I got up, I was like, God, I want to do it again today. I really, because the feeling of like, not myself, I was someone else. I was an adult. And that feeling was so electrifying for me. I started my college, and through friends from college and other friends, we started drinking a lot. We just like keep on putting alcohol in our body until we were like having a competition who's going to throw it first, that kind of thing. Luckily, I don't know how, but I graduated from high school, from college, and then my drinking progressed. Going to gay bars, going to gay clubs. My first 2 years in San Francisco, it was weekend drinkers. Drunk, dancing, hooking up here and there if I could. So in year 1999, I experienced the first time with drugs in a circuit party during Folsom Street Fair. I took my first ever ecstasy in my life, and that high was giving me the opportunity to feel like I'm fitting in into the society. All of a sudden, I felt attractive and funny and popular, and I could dance. And I remember the next day, I couldn't wait to do it again. Yeah, and which I did. It was during that time it was ecstasy, Special K, and then after 2 years, I was introduced to GHB, and that three things was like such a great combo for going to clubs and dancing and trying to get to know people and to hook up anonymously. After 3 years of using that three particular drugs and some drinking on the side, I didn't think it was enough. So I was introduced to crystal meth. I became a daily user, smoking crystal meth at home and having a lot of sex. The end of 2002, I got very, very sick. It was November. I got this fever, would not go away. Eventually, I went to one of the clinic in the city, and finally, I got the result on December 26th in 2002 that I was HIV positive. It was very devastating for me because I wasn't really well informed during that time about the situation, the medication, all that stuff. So the only thing I could think of was I'm going to die soon. And I found out that the only way that I could continue with my life after I got the news was just keep on using. So I just I keep on using crystal meth until for 3 more years. When I first got into rehab in 2005, I wasn't ready to stop drinking and using. I was trying to find a way maybe to get their tricks and tips to drink and use like other people. At the same time, I was having difficulties to tell people that I I was HIV positive. I was crying so much, and it was so hard for me to even say that word. I started to learn a lot more about alcoholism. I started to learn a lot more about steps, 12 steps, the 12-step program. During that process, after 34 days being there, I actually felt sobriety was was my priority. Within my 7 years being sober, my life has gotten a lot better. I found a doctor. My health got improved drastically. I was on medication for HIV, and I had a career of my own. I also met someone really special that became my boyfriend. A lot of great things was going on in my life. And all of a sudden, the meetings, the 12 step became smaller because I was focusing on other things rather than the things that I need to do to stay sober. And after 7 years, I relapsed. I broke up with my boyfriend, and then started my 4 years of relapse. It was the darkest time in my life. I progressed again. I stopped smoking meth, but actually shooting up. I was 40 pounds less. I stopped using HIV medications, and I was jobless. I was a cheater, liar, manipulator. I manipulated and lied to my family to trick them to send money to me every month. I stopped communicating with my friends. It was just me, my house, the drugs, my drug dealer, and my dog. My relapse lasted for 4 years, but then in October 2017, one random night, I got a message from a friend who wanted to come over and get high and have sex. And because it was a quite chilly night, I had a wood burning fireplace on, and I was adding a lot of wood to get the fire going, so that we could be smoking cigarettes comfortably. After we finished the cigarettes, we went back upstairs. We got more high after we got upstairs, and then we were, preoccupy each other for another hour or so. All of a sudden, I smell burning. And my dog was barking. We saw the whole balcony was on fire, and it was so much fire that there were several attempts that we did. We're trying to distinguish the fire. We could not. We actually make the fire even bigger. It was to the point that we look at each other, that we have a common message, a common signal that we better run now, otherwise we'll die. That kind of signal. I took a risk, and I opened the French door, and then I ran through the fire without my clothes on. There was a little bit of explosion, and so I ran into the deeper back of my backyard underneath the tree. And all of a sudden at that moment, I heard a huge yelling noise inside the house. It was my friend. It was a sound, ouch! It was like that. And I was like, I didn't know what to do, because I wanted to know what happened, but I couldn't help him. And after 3 hours, just shaking and crying and yelling, the fire department finally came. And then I finally hear something that I did not want to hear and did not want to believe, because he asked me, he said, "Who's the person who died in front of your house?" And I just couldn't believe it. I actually caused an accident that killed my friend. I got admitted to the general hospital, and in the morning, I was fine to be released. Red Cross was gracious enough to give me a couple $100 to start my life. So I found myself just walking until I got tired. I'll sit in a bus stop for a couple hours, and I walked again. I found a spot that I felt comfortable sitting, and I spent the night there. The next day, I got up. I heard people walking on the street. I was in the Castro. I heard people walking on the street. I heard people getting up. The cars are starting. They're going to their job. And I looked at myself. I thought I felt like an outsider. I have never felt like an outsider so much than that morning. And I knew that morning, that I'm standing at the corner of an intersection, that on the left, I'm going to continue being a loser, being a drug addict. On my right, there's the path of a path that I was familiar with, that I was on it before, and it changed my life. Which path I'm going to take this time, you know? And it's just ironic that on my right side, it was the Castro Country Club. It was a facility and a space for people to stay sober. And people ask for help, and you can go in there. And so I knew my path was to go back to Castro Country Club and to seek for help. And that's what I did. Yeah, and then my second time being sober began after that.